Hello, hey, hi, I'm Ghosty, and welcome back to me, my domain. Welcome back to the Underworld. And if you clicked on the video, you already know what you're looking at and what you're interested in. And that is my thoughts on part 4 of Obi-Wan Kenobi, which I'm also very interested in. I've been loving the show so far, with some minor nitpicks and issues here and there, which I've talked about already up on the channel if you want to go check out my videos on the other episodes. But for this, it's part 4. So, I'm going to watch it and get back to you. A lot of things have been happening, so I'm really interested and loving it, and I want to see where it takes off and goes next. So, again, I'm going to watch it, and I'll get back to you. And we're back. I finished episode 4, and, again, of course, no surprise, I enjoyed it. This episode wasn't too much, it wasn't too little either. Obviously, alright, first of all, spoilers for part 4 of Obi-Wan Kenobi, obviously. If you're still here and you haven't seen episode 4, I advise you to go do so and come back afterwards. Even though I do appreciate you checking it out anyways. But go watch part 4 of Obi-Wan Kenobi and then come back and watch this. Alright. Spoiler warning's over. We good? Alright. But yeah, this episode wasn't too good. It wasn't bad or anything like that. I think this episode was solely decent. I think it was okay. Obviously, I'm loving it because it's Star Wars content. It did really feel like Star Wars. Everything with the ships, from the lightsabers to the whole, Imperial base. I think it was definitely good Star Wars content. But as an episode and just for the show and overall, well, what am I even trying to say? I don't know. It feels really, it feels deeply Star Wars. Heavily Star Wars. But I guess they all do. I don't even know if that makes sense. I don't know. But this episode was decent. Again, it wasn't too good. It wasn't too bad. It was just decent. Episode was okay. Some things I want to talk about, which we'll get into, which in the order of the episode, how things plan out. And then other things that I'll bring up that are a little nitpicky and things that I had issues with. So we'll talk about it. So firstly, when the episode starts, we learn what happened with Obi-Wan from last episode with his encounter with Vader. And, well, he's in the bacta tank, which I didn't expect. I probably should have. Honestly, I didn't know what we were going to see in this. We just knew some way. We knew that Obi-Wan had to come and save Leia, regardless of what happened in the show or anything like that. Since last episode, there was one thing that was certain, and that was they needed to save Leia. And that's exactly what this episode is. You could just not like the episode at all and just throw it out there and just say, skip it or don't even mind it. Because all it is them saving Leia, and then they can get back to everything else afterwards. But that's solely what it is. The whole episode is based off of that. So, yeah. But the episode starts off with Obi-Wan in the bacta tank, and he's having, flashbacks to him and Vader, encounter. And, oh, it's so cool. Because they're going from Obi-Wan in the bacta tank to Vader in a bacta tank without the suit, or I guess you could say Anakin. Still Vader. But they're going from that one to the other, back and forth, as well as having scenes of their encounter from last episode mixed in with it, and it's a really cool sequence. I like it a lot. Then we see more of this rebellion that this group has made, standing up against the Empire and do what they can to help people and force sensitive users. Same people who made the tunnel last episode for Quinlan Vos and for other Jedi, which is pretty cool. But we see more of them. We see this dude that comes up here and there. I didn't really pay much attention to him, but I know obviously the one scene does have Obi-Wan talking to him. Actually, it is right now, early in the episode, after the bacta tank thing, when Obi-Wan gets out of the bacta tank. Which, by the way, his outfit once he puts on is drippy. His outfit is really nice. I like it a lot. I know he always has that kind of Jedi robes are a certain thing, but when characters have that one piece on their torso, the thing that Obi-Wan has, Anakin had it in Revenge of the Sith, but his was just black. I'm not sure what it's called, but that torso piece of clothing that the Jedi wears, well, especially Obi-Wan, is really cool. I like it a lot. That design and that outfit. But anyways, he talks to that guy and obviously the Empire has had a big impact on the world, or not in the world, the galaxy, I mean, and It showed. It shows us with like certain people and just a small scale things, and how the Empire is actually feared all around, which is pretty cool. And if you've heard any of my other episode like reviews or thoughts, you would know I love when shows, especially Star Wars, shows us things instead of just telling us, and it proves it. Especially when it's not only like this large scale story kind of thing, it's on a much smaller scale, and it shows it, and it really shows the impact of it, everything. And I just like that, and I think I had to point that out. There's not much that goes on besides like each scene individually. The whole thing is just, like I said, it's just Obi-Wan and the rebellion, like the little group of rebels. Not rebels. They're not the full-on rebellion yet. It's just groups all around the galaxy that are trying to form together and like go against the Empire. Obviously, it doesn't work until, like years later when Luke is here and all that. But that's what they are. And I think her name was Tala, I'm pretty sure. Tala and the other guy that looks like Ice Cube that I talked about. And that whole group all around. They help Obi-Wan, and the whole episode is just them trying to escape with Leia and save her. That's really all it's about. But the thing that really do shine, I think, is Obi-Wan in this episode. That there is a scene with Vader, which is awesome, which I'll get into later. But the stuff with Obi-Wan really does shine in this, I think, because he is still like tormenting himself over everything that's happened, and now it's even worse since he's having like PTSD and can't get his mind off of Anakin and or Vader. So he struggles with himself, and he's having this like constant conflict with himself, and he has to there's no other way around it. He has to come in touch with the Force again and like pick his lightsaber back up and fight. And they show it pretty well. Obi-Wan in this, he struggles the entire time, but like, well, not the entire time, because it seems like he gets the hang of things, and he gets to do it pretty fast. But the whole thing is just him trying to recollect himself and like readjust himself to this like Jedi way, which of course I think it done really well, and I think it shines a lot in this episode. And like I said, you could not like this episode, and you could love it, regardless of the matter. The entire episode, whichever way you look at it, is all about just them saving Leia from this Imperial base. That's all it is about. So like I said, you could like it, you could not like it, you could throw it away, whatever it is. This episode is fully dedicated to that. So, obviously it keeps the story pushing, but it's really only this one thing that they're after, this episode, and it doesn't dive into too much, so I can't talk about too much, and get in detail with a lot of things. So this video might be a little shorter, but I'm going to talk about each like individual scene while I can, and things I want to point out. But the way he gets into this base, in this, is also pretty cool. He swims into it, but he uses like, what's it called? A rebreather. And that was pretty cool. I love seeing like the actual tech, besides like the civilized stuff like lightsabers and stuff like that. I don't know, but I thought the rebreather thing was pretty cool. I love when they show off like the prequel and just like any kind of tech really. It's pretty cool. And then we see in this episode, I'm gonna say this now. In this episode, I actually did like Reva. I know I've said before I didn't like her character, which I don't really, but I love seeing the Inquisitors and really any kind of the Empire, so I always enjoy it somewhat. But I really didn't like her character. But in this episode, I actually did enjoy her. Until later, like some things look a little weird and wonky later on when she's like chasing the ships down. But that's for later. But we see her, and she's like, she's in this episode. She's really trying her hardest to get like the info from Leia. Like she's trying to get into her mind with the Force. She's gonna like end up torturing her before they stop her. She's hell bent on getting this info from Leia. Like Leia's like what, 10 years old in this? Like she gotta calm down a little bit. But I actually do like her in this. I really did. And then while Reva's talking to Leia, she finds her little droid, which the droid like attacks her or tries to, and Reva like stops it really quick with the Force, which is pretty cool. But she stops it, and I love the use of droids in this episode because not only I didn't think this Leia's like little droid was going to have any part in the story whatsoever, but now it's being used against them as a tracker, which is actually pretty neat. And then the one scene where Obi-Wan is in the base and he's sneaking around, it's like a horror movie. Not as much as like Vader was in the last episode, but I love it because there's that probe droid going around and it's like lurking the hallways, and it's like right next to Obi-Wan, and it's like that one shot while he's while he's looking through the window. Obi-Wan's hiding, but it's pretty damn cool. I just love the use of the droid in this. And then there's even a mouse droid that appears somewhere later. I'm pretty sure someone shoots it. I don't know why. It doesn't really do anything, but someone lit it up for no reason at all. But yeah, the probe droid was the thing I wanted to point out. I saw that, I was like, oh, I had to talk about that. That's pretty badass. That they could use the probe droid as that, in that way, and actually intimidating. I found it like that as well, at least. I thought it was pretty damn sick. But then episode moves on, and we get more of Reva talking to Leia, and more of Obi-Wan sneaking around. There's a part in this where I don't know how they don't see him, but stormtroopers literally come right in front of them, and they don't notice him. But Obi-Wan gets in a lot of situations where he is forced to use the Force, and he has to become get even closer to this Jedi way that he lost long ago. Because we know the show is about his struggle and this conflict that he has with himself, and that how he's been out of touch with the Force and how he's gotten weaker, and because of that, because exactly that, he's gotten weaker and he's just out of tune with the Force, and he hasn't touched it or anything like that. This is the first time we've seen him ignite his lightsaber in a while, or at least last episode or whenever he did it. Which just in general, this is the first time we see him actually do pretty much anything that he used to do for a whole decade. So it's pretty cool to see, because you can really see the struggle in it, and you could really see him conflicting and tormenting himself, but also having to do it because he has to. There's no other way out of it. So we see him have to use the Force a few times, and I really like how they portray it, because the more that the episode progresses, the more he progresses as a character, and his skills, and what he's learned over the years, and everything that he's done before. Since he's out of touch with the Force, and he has to redo it, and start it all over again, we see him progress, and learn it, and get back in tune with it as the episode goes on. So, little by little, we see him put the pieces back together, and really get a hold of the Force, and get a hold of the Jedi way that he once knew, which is pretty cool, and I love how it's done. He uses the Force on that. Later in the episode, he uses the Force on this glass tank, which, by the way, I'm not sure how, I'm not sure why the Empire likes making underwater bases. Obviously, it doesn't go well, and I forget what it was, but I'm pretty sure there's another water base that gets infiltrated, just like this one. Was it Clone Wars or was it Rebels? I've seen it before. My memory's not serving me right. But regardless, we see him struggle with that, and and he has to keep the water out from the crack, which is pretty damn cool. And oh my god, he it's when it's something you haven't touched in so long, but just the feel of it and the memories that come with it, you know how to work it exactly well, instantly. And that's how I felt with this. After his encounter with Vader last episode, he's learned and he's gotten used to it, I guess. But in this episode, he wields his lightsaber like a boss, just like how he used to. He's deflecting bullets, or yeah, I guess it is bullets. It's more of just blaster fire. Same thing. He's deflecting them, and he even strikes down some stormtroopers. When he rescues Leia, the torture device, he uses the shadows. It's like a weapon. Some Batman shit. He hides in the shadows and uses his lightsaber as a light to ignite around him and strike down the stormtroopers, which is pretty damn cool. I liked seeing that. That was really cool. I like that a lot. Any use with lightsabers and using it as an actual tool and light, like in this episode and last episode when Vader actually uses it to ignite the granite or the pebbles, whatever that was, to actually create a fire. When it's used, when someone's clever and uses it more than just a weapon and a sword, it's always cool. I always love seeing that. It just makes sense, and it's just science. That's all it is. Even though it's Star Wars, it's whatever. But yeah, he holds the water back, which is pretty cool, and you could see the struggle on his face, and in general, you could see him struggling with it. And of course, he does get it though, and we get a cool scene of him running towards the camera, running out of the hallway of the water. But yeah, we get that, which is pretty neat. And I don't know, I love seeing the scenes and how Obi-Wan is really out of touch with the Force, like I said, and we see him struggle and have it to come into this back into the Jedi way for whatever's going on in the show, and he has to. Like, there's no other way out of it. He has to overcome the struggle and overcome any obstacles that come with the struggle that he's having with himself. It's physical and mentally like a struggle, and I just like seeing it. And I think it's displayed it pretty well. And I'm probably repeating myself, but it's alright. It comes up with each scene I'm talking about, so that's kind of right. Yeah, I think that makes it okay. But anyways, actually, yeah, before he does get into that like section where he has to hold the glass together and hold the water out of the base, he comes across like this like area. It's one hallway where it's like deep in the base, and they didn't know what these bases are for. This like Inquisitor Fortress, whatever this Empire base that they're at. They don't know what they're hiding in because it's like a big like special place. But we learned that it's a tomb, and I actually it's morbid and it's dark, but I love it. The idea of the Empire having Jedi and like the remains of their like a symbol of their victory is just really badass, and it's really menacing, and I like it a lot. And we see Jedi. I'm not sure why they chose this like I don't know. I don't even know where to begin to understand what material they're in, but I kind of expected carbonite to, they're on display and they're like frozen solid. They're probably dead, maybe, or they're just frozen. It looks like they're frozen regardless because they're not decaying or anything. So, regardless, they're on display, and they're in this tomb, which is really cool to see. And I'm pretty sure one of the Jedi is actually from the Clone Wars, which is also pretty cool. They're calling back to the Clone Wars a lot. Also, speaking of the Clone Wars, I think I expected a lot of more Clone Wars flashbacks, but we might get them later on in the show. I won't be surprised. I think that's one of the things that was said before the show came out, which another thing was that it was rumored that, or it was confirmed that Kenobi was going to go to a water planet before the show came out, but now we know what the water planet actually is, and it was this place. But yeah, for some reason, I really thought when he's, like, I didn't think of it because they showed it, like, first, but I was thinking to myself, like, I wonder why they didn't use carbonite just as like a tool in general. Maybe it's not like fully like popular yet in the universe right now, because again, first time we see carbonite is in the original trilogy when Han's frozen, so maybe it's not like a big factor yet. But they didn't use it in this, which I thought maybe they could have had like a nod to that. Maybe, I'm not sure, but they don't use it. Another thing with the original trilogy, Obi-Wan takes down a stormtrooper pretty early on in the episode when he's like sneaks on into the base, and I thought the one thing I thought they were going to do was give a nod to the New Hope, and I really thought that was going to happen. I really thought Obi-Wan was going to put the stormtrooper suit on and disguise himself as a stormtrooper, but he didn't. I thought it was like confirmed in my mind. I thought I was like the instant next scene was going to was him with that on, or like putting the helmet on to finish the outfit, but he didn't even use it at all. Later on, he uses like the stereotypical like disguise of like a big hat and trench coat for him and Leia, which was pretty funny, just because like that like whole trench coat joke. But I don't know, they don't use the stormtrooper thing. So I really thought they were gonna do it, but they didn't. And then we'll go to that whole scene now with like their like trench coat kind of disguise, and they're trying to escape. Obviously, Reva's on their ass, and then also I thought Tala was gonna die. I thought Reva was gonna kill her. She's not really a big part in the show, like as like a major character, but she is a pretty significant part of where we're at, because Obi-Wan's like helping her, or more of she's helping Obi-Wan. But I thought she was gonna die. I don't think she's gonna die. If anything, I think Reva was gonna die, but I really thought she was. Actually, I thought Reva was gonna die in this episode, but we'll get into that after this. But this scene, some things feel a little wonky because, well, I don't know. Reva's swinging her lightsaber around like it's a toy, and she's like really trying her hardest to like make it look cool. I do enjoy Reva for the most part. Some things I do think it seems like she's trying a little too hard for a lot of things. Earlier episodes I talked about, and in this, like the lightsaber combat kind of thing, she looks like she's like a lot of fights, especially the prequels, have like them flailing around the lightsabers a lot, and it looks cool. But I think it's done well. In this, Reva, it kind of just looks cringy, and she doesn't really know what she's doing with it, even though she's supposed to. She's an Inquisitor. She's the third sister, I think it was. I don't know, but the whole scene is pretty interesting. Like I said, the entire episode isn't really like too big. Like, no, if you like it or not, like some obviously some shots are like awkward, or like some shots are just weird. I feel like, or a little off, or like a little underwhelming. But again, like I said, it's like you don't have to like the episode, or you may love it. Despite that fact, it's still just a pivotal like place in the show where he had to save Leia, and that's all the episode was. So we can after this, we can get right back to everything else and the story wise and like moving onwards. It really was only Obi-Wan had like having to save Leia. Like regardless of what happened, any way you look at it, they had to do an episode or they had to do something that had Obi-Wan saving Leia. No matter how they did it, no matter how it came out, they had to do it somehow, and that's what they did. So this is the result, and personally, I'm not like hating on it. So I don't really have anything to hate on. I enjoyed the episode. Some things are a little underwhelming because I think the show has been on a blast so far, personally. But this episode, like I said, is just they had to do something and have this event of him saving Leia, and this is what they did with it. So this is the result, like I said. But yeah, Ravens is like playing a lightsaber around, and I honestly thought we were gonna get like Obi-Wan like a mental conflict and him thinking to himself and having to really tune into the Force and like unleash it on everyone at once, which was going to be pretty cool. But then these ships came out of nowhere from like what's her name, Tala's like rebellion, like her little group came out of nowhere, which they did not look good at all. I'm not gonna lie, they look like they should have like a video game on like the PS2 or like on the Wii or something like that, or like literally just a cardboard cutout or something. They didn't look good. I'm not sure how much CGI was used on them, but they didn't look good. But that's like a really small factor in this episode. So one of them dies, and then they try to at least convey emotion later on for like their fallen comrade, which makes sense. But like I didn't feel for it. I was like, oh shit, damn, that dude just died. That sucks. But yeah, we get that. And the whole scene is a little off here and there. I don't know if it's just me or not, but it really just does seem like they tried to push it and make it like a sad moment. Obviously it's messed up, but I was like, oh shit, damn, dude died. And that was really all it was. But now Reva's got the whole Empire pissed off even more than before. And you know who else? If you've seen the episode, you know who else is pissed off at her. And oh boy, the end of the scene where Obi-Wan and Leia and like their ship like takes off. They take off and Reva's like looking at them as they like leave. As they fly away, Reva's looking at them, and you could hear his breath. And instantly, I got out of my seat. Like I was laying down. I sat straight up. I was like, "Oh shit, it's about to happen!" And of course, we see him, Darth Vader. And man, whew, again, I love how this show is portraying him. Like I said, like last episode, not every single thing I'm loving about it, or like some shots and like just little nitpicky things, but for the most part, or his portrayal at least, I love. He really is just a force to be reckoned with. This immovable object. This Dark Lord that he is. This like overwhelmingly like unstoppable, powerful like person that doesn't seem human. I love it. And in this, he is pissed. As soon as his breath goes off, like over the shot of Reva watching him fly off, like I said, his breath goes off. I got out of my seat. Oh shit, it's about to go down. And I knew he was going to be there. And then he is pissed. Obviously, Reva's been pissing them off, but now it's even worse. And this is what I want to see from Vader. This show is exactly what I want to see from Vader. Like in Rogue One, the end of Jedi Fallen Order, all of that. I want to see that Darth Vader more. Because again, like the most we see from Vader is the original trilogy, and obviously they're old movies, and it's not very up to date. And what they wanted Vader to be fully, like it's not at his peak. So, but like this is probably Vader at his peak, and I want to see more of this Vader, this bloodlust, like bloodthirsty, dangerous, like in his prime Darth Vader. That's what I want to see, and he is beyond angry. He even chokes out Reva, which again I really thought she was gonna die, but she didn't. because she tells him about the tracker or whatever. But Vader comes in. Everyone is silent, and the only audible things is the nothingness of space, Darth Vader's words and his breath, and her voice and her gasping for air because of the Force choke. And it's such a cool scene. Anything with Vader, he steals the show and he steals the spotlight instantly. And not only in the show, it's literally in anything. If Darth Vader is there, Darth Vader is the elephant in the room. And that's all it is. That's final. There's like no debate. Even the Inquisitors are just in like total shock. They're fearing Vader. And I love it. But now that's where the episode ends. A little after that, once we see that the tracker's on Leia's droid. And that's the end of the episode. And I'm really interested in seeing where it goes off now. Because now, you would think they go back to Alderaan, and Obi-Wan can take Leia back, or maybe back to Tatooine, not sure. But obviously the Empire is going to be hot on their ass. And they're going to be hot on their tail. So, we're probably going to see Vader come up against Kenobi again. I do think Reva is probably going to go after her. Actually, maybe Reva will go after Obi-Wan instead. Because I think Reva is going to die. I think they're going to pull a Jedi Fallen Order, which I hope they do, because that would just make Vader even cooler. And I think Reva's going to bite the dust. I think she's going to die, and I thought, like I said, I thought she was going to die in this episode. Didn't quite do it, but maybe. Not sure. Like in future episodes, I mean. It could even be the Grand Inquisitor. If he comes back, he can kill her. But I think just Vader doing it is so much cooler and just better. And I think that's what the fans want, right? We all want that? Right? You agree with me? Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think it was a good episode. And obviously I talk a lot, so it wasn't that shorter than other videos, but it is shorter. Because this is the end of the video. I talked about, I think, everything I wanted to talk about. And of course we'll be back next time for the next episode. Really enjoyed this one. It was not as good as the other ones, but it was still decent, and there's still moments to appreciate. Pretty much the whole thing. Not everything. Some scenes, like I said, are a little wonky and here and there. They're just odd. They're a little off. But for the most part, I think it was good, and it was really just for the story to keep pushing, I think. I'm really trying to not repeat myself, but like I'm trying to get the point across, so it's kind of like I'm on the fence. It's a little difficult, but basically the episode was all around kind of a filler episode. Not much happened, but like the overall plot of like bringing Leia back and saving Leia still happened, and the event still had occurred. And that's what I meant by like regardless of how they did it, regardless of the execution and how they executed it, it was still bound to happen at some point in the series. And this episode was just fully taken up by that. That's why I think it's a little underwhelming, and that's where some of my points come from. But again, I enjoyed it. Overall, I really liked it, and I'm interested, and I'm really hyped for the next episode. And well, I hope you enjoyed my thoughts and enjoyed the episode yourself. But like I said, this is the end of the video, and I appreciate you watching this. The other videos on the other episodes are also out if you want to check them out on the channel. Subscribe, like, comment, etc., etc. Share too, please, if you don't mind. And that's all. This has been Ghosty, and I bid you all farewell.